Are you ready to unlock peak performance in like every area of your life? Because today we're going deep into the power of full engagement. This is by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz.
Yeah.
And I know you're thinking,
Oh, yeah.
ugh, another time management book?
Right.
But trust me, this one is different.
Totally.
It actually flips the script.
Uh-huh.
It's not about cramming more into your already busy schedule.
Right.
It's about mastering your energy.
And what's fascinating is this book came out back in 2003.
Oh, wow.
But it's like even more relevant today than it was then.
Really?
Yeah. Loehr is a performance psychologist.
Okay.
He's worked with top athletes.
Interesting.
And Schwartz is a journalist.
Okay.
And he co-authored The Art of the Deal with Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
So they kind of predicted the energy drain of our always-on world.
Okay, so energy is the name of the game.
Yeah.
But they're not just talking about like hitting the gym.
No, not just the gym.
Okay.
They break it down to 4 types of energy.
Okay, I'm listening.
Physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Okay.
And each of those is super important for performance and well-being.
So it's like a 4-cylinder engine.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
one of them is sputtering, the whole thing's going to run rough.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
Physical energy.
Yeah.
I get it. That's like the foundation.
Yeah, the base.
What about emotional energy, though?
Emotional energy is your ability to handle all of the emotions.
Okay.
Like all of them, the highs and the lows, the good, the bad, the unexpected,
Yeah.
all the curveballs life throws at you.
It's the stuff that happens.
Exactly. It's about resilience.
Okay.
It's about having strong relationships.
Uh-huh.
And it's about getting through your day-to-day life without being totally derailed by like every little thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially these days when it feels like everything's just amped up to 11 all the time.
Yeah. It's nonstop.
So how do they suggest we train this emotional muscle? Because let's be real, some days it feels more like a flabby noodle.
Well, one thing they suggest is actually leaning into uncomfortable feelings.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like instead of pushing down those negative thoughts or emotions,
Uh-huh.
they want you to acknowledge them.
Okay.
They even say you can like journal about them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the book has certain prompts to help you unpack all of those feelings.
Interesting. So instead of like running away from those shadow selves,
Right.
you invite them in for a cup of tea and a chat.
Exactly. You got to get to know them a little better.
Okay.
It's about building emotional flexibility
Okay.
and resilience.
Gotcha.
And then there's mental energy.
Okay. What is that?
So that's your ability to focus,
Mm-hmm.
to concentrate,
Right.
and push through mental fatigue. It's
Right.
like running a mental marathon.
And I'm guessing in our world of constant notifications and information overload,
Right.
this one's probably taking a hit.
Oh, yeah, big time.
All
Like,
right.
people just can't focus like they used to.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Loehr and Schwartz actually suggests that you need to push yourself just outside your comfort zone intellectually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like try new things,
Okay.
practice focus techniques,
Wow.
and maybe even do some brain training exercises.
So not just passively scrolling, but actively engaging with your mind.
Totally.
Okay. I can get behind that one.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got physical, emotional, and mental.
Right.
What about spiritual energy?
Yeah.
I have to admit, that one sounds a little out there to me.
It might sound a little woo-woo,
Yeah.
but think of it as connecting to a purpose bigger than yourself.
Okay.
It's about aligning with your values
Okay.
and finding a deeper meaning in what you do.
Okay.
It's that driving force that keeps you going when things get tough.
Okay. I'm starting to see how these all fit together.
Yeah, they're all important.
But if we go back to that engine analogy,
Uh-huh.
is there one cylinder that Loehr and Schwartz see as the most important?
They're very clear that physical energy is the bedrock. Yeah, and they have some pretty crazy stats to back that up.
Okay. I'm listening.
Did you know that muscles that are dehydrated by just 3%?
3%.
Yeah,
Oh.
they lose 10% of their strength.
Wow. That's a big drop for just being a little bit dehydrated.
Exactly.
I'm definitely grabbing my water bottle after that one.
You and me both.
So if physical energy is like the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
how do we strengthen it? I mean, we've all heard about getting enough sleep.
Yeah, sleep is super important.
What else is there?
Well, they're big fans of interval training.
Oh, like HIIT workouts and stuff?
Yeah, basically short bursts of intense activity followed by rest.
Okay.
It's not about becoming a marathon runner or anything,
Okay.
just finding ways to move more during your day.
Okay.
And they also emphasize mindful eating.
So ditching the sugary snacks.
Yeah.
The ones that give you all that energy and then you crash an hour later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They want you to eat foods that give you sustained energy.
Uh-huh.
So things like nuts, leafy greens,
Okay.
and eating lots of small meals throughout the day instead of 3 big ones.
Okay, so I'm making mental notes here.
Yeah.
But let's step back and look at the big picture.
Okay.
We're talking about building up these 4 types of energy.
Right.
But how does that turn into real lasting change?
This is where oscillation comes in.
What is that?
So they argue that just like our heartbeats,
Uh-huh.
every system in our body needs periods of exertion and recovery.
Okay, that makes sense.
It actually goes against that always hustle, never stop mentality.
Oh, yeah.
That's so common these days.
Yeah, everyone's trying to sprint a marathon.
Exactly.
So how do we find that rhythm?
Right.
That balance of pushing ourselves and resting? Because I have to admit, slowing down feels kind of radical in today's world.
They're not saying that you have to go live in a cave and meditate all day.
Okay, good.
But they are saying that if you want to thrive,
Uh-huh.
you need to build rituals into your day.
Okay.
Rituals that help you recharge.
So not just scheduling workouts,
Yeah.
meal prepping,
Right.
but actually building in time for things that really replenish you.
Exactly. Whatever those things are for you.
Okay.
Like spending time with people you love,
Okay.
listening to music,
Uh-huh.
getting out in nature,
Yeah.
or even just taking a few minutes to meditate.
Okay.
It's about being intentional about creating those pockets of time to refuel.
And being aware of your own energy pattern.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Noticing when you're hitting that slump
Uh-huh.
and not just powering through it,
Right.
actually taking a break
Yeah.
to do something restorative.
It's so important.
Okay, so instead of grabbing like a 3rd cup of coffee when I hit that afternoon slump,
Yeah.
maybe I should just step away from my desk,
Right.
go for a walk,
Exactly.
or just close my eyes and take a few deep breaths,
You got it.
like hitting the reset button on my energy levels.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, speaking of hitting the reset button,
Yeah.
one of the ideas in this book that seems the most counterintuitive to me, and honestly kind of brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
is that accepting our limitations
Yeah.
can actually increase our energy.
Right?
Wait, what?
I know it sounds
How
crazy.
does that even work? Seems like the opposite would be true.
Think of it this way.
Okay.
When we're always trying to deny our limitations
Right.
or resist them,
Uh-huh.
it takes a lot of mental and emotional energy.
Like, yeah, that's true.
But when we accept them,
Right.
we can free up that energy
Okay.
to focus on the things that we can actually control.
So instead of fighting the current,
Right.
you learn to swim with it.
Exactly.
Okay, that's making sense.
Good.
Can you give me an example, though?
Sure.
Something a little more concrete.
Okay. Think about constructive criticism.
Right.
Instead of getting defensive when someone gives you feedback,
Uh-huh.
what if you saw it as a chance to grow?
Okay.
So you're going from wasting energy on protecting your ego
Right.
to channeling that energy into learning and improving.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a total shift in mindset.
So it's about being honest with yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses,
Totally.
and then using that knowledge to your advantage.
Uh-huh.
Instead of seeing limitations as roadblocks,
Right.
you see them as guideposts,
Yeah.
helping you focus your energy on the paths that are really meant for you.
That's a great way to think about it.
I like that.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another really key idea,
Okay.
the importance of having a long-term goal.
Uh-huh.
That aligns with your values.
Yeah. Your big why.
Okay, so now we're talking about the big picture.
Exactly.
That sense of purpose.
Right.
That why that gives your life meaning.
It's the driving force.
I can definitely see how that could be a huge energy source.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But how do we even start to figure out that overarching goal?
Right.
Because let's be real. Some days it feels like all I'm doing is putting out fires
Yeah, I feel that.
and trying to keep my head above water.
It's tough out there.
When do I find the time or the energy to figure out my life purpose?
That's a great question, and it's something we're going to go deeper into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But for now, just start by asking yourself this.
Okay. What is it?
What truly matters to you?
Okay.
What activities and experiences really light you up and make you feel alive?
So it's not about having all the answers right now.
Right.
It's about asking the right questions
Exactly.
and being open to exploring those deeper levels of motivation.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Oh,
I can get on board with that.
awesome. It's a journey, not a destination.
That's true.
And speaking of journeys,
Yeah.
one of the most interesting parts of this book is how they talk about rituals.
Okay.
Not just like morning routines or religious practices,
Right.
but like the power of building intentional, energy-enhancing rituals
Okay.
into every area of your life.
I'm intrigued because honestly, when I hear the word rituals,
Yeah.
I think of those like elaborate time-consuming practices
Right.
that I can barely fit into my already packed schedule. Well, are you saying it's not about that?
Not at all.
Okay.
They actually say that rituals are energy-saving devices.
Really?
Yeah. Think about it.
Okay.
When something becomes a habit, it takes less mental effort.
Yeah, that's true.
Loehr and Schwartz say that research shows that only about 5% of our actions are conscious.
5%!
Wow.
Yeah.
The other 95%.
Yeah.
Those are driven by habits and routines.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, right.
Yeah.
So basically, we're operating on autopilot most of the time.
Yeah.
And our rituals are the programming that's running the show.
So if that's the case,
Yeah.
why not be intentional about creating positive rituals?
Exactly.
Ones that like align with our values and goals.
Right.
We can literally reprogram our brains to be more energized and focused.
You got it.
Okay. I'm starting to see the light here.
Good.
Can you give me some examples, though?
Sure.
Like what kind of rituals were we talking about?
It could be something super simple, like starting your day with a few minutes of meditation or ending your workday with a gratitude practice. Maybe it's a 15-minute walk in nature during your lunch break.
Yeah.
Or reading a few pages of an inspiring book before bed.
Okay.
The key is finding what works for you.
Right.
And making it a consistent part of your routine.
So those small intentional acts
Yeah.
can have a ripple effect throughout your whole day.
Exactly.
Kind of like setting the tone for how you want to feel and operate.
Exactly.
And they also talk about using rituals to replace negative habits
Oh, yeah, that's a big
with
word.
positive ones.
Right, like a habit swap.
Okay.
So instead of scrolling through social media before bed,
Which I'm definitely guilty of.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
Maybe you could spend that time journaling,
Okay.
stretching, or having a conversation with your partner,
Yeah.
someone you love.
Right.
So it's not just about adding things in, it's also about being mindful of what we're taking out.
What are we feeding our minds and bodies?
Yeah.
What habits are training us?
Yeah,
And what rituals can we put in their place to nourish ourselves?
that's a great way to put it.
It's about being conscious of our energy choices.
Uh-huh.
Just like we're becoming more conscious of our food choices these days.
Exactly.
As we're talking about this,
Yeah.
I'm realizing that a lot of the strategies in this book seem kind of counterintuitive at first.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like the idea of accepting our limitations to increase our energy
Yeah.
or building rituals to save time and energy.
It's not what you'd expect.
It's almost like they're challenging us to rethink our beliefs
Uh-huh.
about productivity and performance.
Absolutely.
They're pushing back against that always on, always hustling mentality
Yeah.
that can lead to burnout.
Totally.
They're saying that true sustainable performance comes from understanding our own energy patterns
Yeah.
and working with them,
Yeah.
not against them.
You got it.
It's about finding that sweet spot, that rhythm of exertion and recovery
Uh-huh.
that lets us thrive without burning out.
It's all about balance.
And speaking of thriving,
Yeah,
we haven't really talked much about mental energy yet.
that's true.
In a world that's so full of distraction,
Right.
how do they suggest we cultivate and protect that precious mental focus?
One of the things they talk about is realistic optimism.
Okay, what is that?
So it's about accepting things as they are, acknowledging the challenges, but still believing that things can get better
Okay.
and that we can make a difference.
So balancing a pragmatic view of reality
right.
with a hopeful outlook.
Exactly.
Walking a mental tightrope.
It's about avoiding both naive optimism,
Okay.
which can lead to disappointment,
Yeah,
and cynical pessimism, which can just drain your energy.
because both of those extremes can be pretty exhausting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So realistic optimism
Yeah.
is about finding that middle ground,
Uh-huh.
that place where you can acknowledge the difficulties
Right.
without letting them totally zap your energy.
You got it.
Okay.
And they argue that this mindset,
Yeah.
combined with all the other energy management stuff we've been talking about, can help you stay focused,
Okay.
creative, and resilient,
Mhm.
even when things are hard.
So building that mental toughness,
Yeah.
that lets you thrive even when things get tough.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that we've covered physical,
Mm-hmm.
emotional,
Right.
and mental energy,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to spiritual energy.
Okay.
We talked about it a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
but I think it deserves a deeper dive.
Sure.
What are some practical ways that we can cultivate that sense of purpose and meaning?
Well, remember that example we talked about before
Ah.
about the smokers who quit when they got pregnant?
Yeah.
That shows how powerful it can be.
Okay.
to connect to a purpose that's larger than yourself.
Right.
That's what spiritual energy is all about.
So it's about finding that why that fuels you. That gives your life meaning and direction.
Uh-huh.
But how do we find that why?
Yeah.
When it feels like we're constantly being told what we should be doing,
Right.
what success should look like.
There's so much pressure.
How do we cut through all that noise
Yeah.
and tap into what really resonates with us?
They say you should start with a simple question.
Okay, what is it?
What truly motivates you?
Okay.
What are your core values?
Okay.
What kind of impact do you want to have on the world?
Okay.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
So looking beyond those external markers of success, like job titles, fancy cars,
Right.
social media likes,
All that stuff.
and asking ourselves, what really matters at the end of the day?
Exactly.
What kind of life do we want to live?
Right.
What kind of person do we want to be?
Those are the important questions.
And they say that identifying your purpose is an ongoing process.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not like a one-time event,
Uh-huh.
but a journey of self-discovery that unfolds over time.
You got it.
It's about being open to exploring,
Yeah.
to evolving,
Uh-huh.
allowing your why to change as you grow and learn.
It's a journey.
I love that.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off of having to have all the answers right now.
Totally.
It gives you space to let that process unfold.
And remember, your purpose doesn't have to be something huge
Okay.
or world-changing.
Yeah.
It could be something as simple as being a loving parent,
Okay.
a supportive friend,
Uh-huh.
or a dedicated artist.
Right.
It's about finding the thing that makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
The thing that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning
Uh-huh.
and make a difference.
Even if it's a small one.
Exactly.
And that brings us to one of the most important points in this whole book.
Okay, what is it?
Managing your energy
Yeah,
isn't just about achieving external success.
right.
It's about creating a life that feels fulfilling and meaningful.
That's what it's all about.
It's not about climbing the corporate ladder
Mm-hmm.
or checking things off your to-do list.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your actions with your values
Yeah,
so you feel good about how you're spending your energy.
I like that.
So you can look back on your life and say, yes, I lived a life that was true to myself.
Beautifully said.
And they argue that when we do that, when we're living in alignment with our purpose,
Yeah,
it creates a ripple effect
okay,
that
then.
impacts everything in our lives.
It does.
Our relationships,
Yeah.
our work, our
Uh-huh.
health,
Right.
our overall well-being.
It all comes together.
It's like that sense of purpose becomes this like wellspring of energy that we can draw from
Yeah.
even when things are tough.
Exactly. And they offer this powerful reminder.
Okay, what is it?
You have more control over your energy
Okay.
than you think.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just determined by your circumstances or your genes.
Okay.
It's something you can cultivate
Uh-huh.
and manage
Okay.
through the choices that you make each day.
That's empowering.
It is.
Like we're not just passengers on this energy roller coaster.
Right.
We can take the wheel
Yeah.
and steer ourselves in a more positive direction.
Get at.
We have the power to create the energy we want to experience.
That's the truth.
I like that.
Yeah, and this book gives you the tools
Uh-huh.
and the knowledge to do it.
Okay.
It's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about making progress.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah, so be kind to yourself,
Okay.
celebrate your wins,
Uh-huh.
and keep experimenting.
To find what works best for you.
Exactly, because we're all different.
Right.
We all have different energy patterns and needs.
Yeah,
What works for one person might not work for another.
that's true.
It's about finding your own personal energy formula.
Exactly.
It's a process of self-discovery
Mhm.
and experimentation,
Okay.
but it's a journey worth taking.
This has been such a great conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm walking away with a whole new perspective on energy management
I'm so glad to hear that.
and a renewed sense of possibility.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, I think that's something we can all get behind.
Yeah.
And speaking of getting behind something,
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could leave our listeners with just one thought-provoking question from the book.
Okay.
Something that could maybe spark their own exploration. What would it be?
That's a great challenge, I think I would ask. What if instead of focusing on what you want to achieve in life,
Okay.
you focused on how you want to feel?
Oh,
How would that change how you look at energy management
okay.
and the choices you make every day?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It really gets to the heart of why we're even talking about energy management in the first place.
Right.
It's not just about being productive or successful.
Exactly.
It's about creating a life that feels good, a life that's aligned with our values and makes us happy.
Yeah. And I think that question can help us figure out what actually gives us energy. Like what activities and experiences fill us up instead of draining us.
Yeah, it's like a compass
Right.
for finding a more fulfilling and energized life.
I like that.
Speaking of compasses,
Yeah.
we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the power of full engagement.
We have.
Are there any final key takeaways you'd like to highlight before we wrap up?
One thing that's really important is that these 4 types of energy are all connected.
Okay.
It's not enough to just focus on 1 or 2.
Right.
We have to cultivate all of them if we want to truly thrive.
And it's not a one-time thing either.
Oh, definitely not.
It's an ongoing process
Uh-huh.
of becoming aware of our energy patterns,
Right.
experimenting with different strategies,
Yeah.
and figuring out what works best for each of us.
Exactly. And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's about making progress.
Okay.
So be kind to yourself, celebrate your wins,
Yeah.
and just keep exploring.
This book has given us some really powerful tools.
Yeah, it has.
And now it's up to us to take those tools and make them our own, to create a life that's truly energized from the inside out.
That's the goal.
If you're feeling inspired,
Yeah.
we highly recommend checking out The Power of Full Engagement by Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz.
You can find it at your local library
Yeah.
or bookstore or anywhere you get your books.
And we would love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What resonated with you the most from this deep dive?
Right.
What are some of your own energy management strategies?
Yeah, let us know.
Share your thoughts and takeaways and questions with us on social media.
Yeah.
Or send us an email.
We love to hear from you.
We're always excited to keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of knowledge and self-discovery.
Until next time,
Yeah.
stay curious, stay engaged,
Yeah.
and keep shining your light.